Well, this chapter marks what looks like the beginning of the end for the scholars and archaeologists of Ohara, and it's very, very saddening indeed.
One Piece, Chapter 394, The Demons of Ohara.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and archaeologists of Ohara and potential Poneglyph readers of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and flashback-ridden Robin-centric tale of One Piece. Now, our last chapter, of course, saw us with Spandine and CP9 landing on the island and starting to just kind of go through and methodically round people up and just sort of, we know that the end is near for these archaeologists, these scholars of Ohara, or Ohara. And really the chapter ended off with Robin and her mother Olvia not recognizing each other and just kind of passing each other and whatnot. I think Olvia might have actually noticed her, but anyway, it winds up being that she's trying to cause some commotion. She's running around with a gun, her mother is, and Robin was just trying to run back to see what's going on the island, what the commotion is, because obviously Saul had told her that, hey, listen, this is bad news. So that's where the chapter left off. The chapter actually goes and takes place, you know, right after those events. You know, Robin winds up reaching where the scholars are, and the scholars are starting to be rounded up and everything. And they first tell her, you know, that Clover tells her, he says, listen, you cannot tell anybody you're an archaeologist. You cannot tell anybody you're connected to us or anything like that. You have to. And he kind of still tries to sugarcoat it and make it out like it's not as bad as it seems with the warship sitting there offshore and everything like that. We all know, obviously, here as readers that the warships are over there, and we're assuming that's for this Buster Call that's just going to destroy the island and all of its inhabitants. But anyway, going through, we also wind up finding out from Spandine, that pretty much everything here that they're doing is just a formality, so it gives them like a public reason to be able, a reason that's good enough when it makes news for them to execute everybody. And we wind up finding this out through, he actually gets shot, right? And he's like, oh God, I'm dying. Oh, call headquarters and tell them to make my son the director. So we know that Spandum, just the smaller freaking wetback condom piece of shit that Spandine is obviously his son. But anyway, they're like, director, you haven't been shot. It just actually hit your coat, right? And then we get Olvia, you know, Robin's mother, and she's just like, I won't miss next time. And it's like, first of all, why didn't you just go and shoot him to begin with? You know the guy's a piece of garbage and that he's the one heading up this nonsense here. You know, you cut the head off the snake and maybe you'd at least have a chance at things. But instead, no, let's just wing him so you can go and talk and give a monologue. And that's really what winds up happening. They talk, and you find out that she actually escaped from a prison. I'm assuming maybe like impelled down or something like that if she was taken to Ennie's lobby. I don't know, though. But nonetheless, she did escape from a prison. But after years of being in custody, I guess, you know, she vehemently denied any connections to Ohara, the scholars, the archaeologists, whatnot. And he's just like, hey, being here right now or just proves that you're connected to them and everything else, you know. And she's like, no, it doesn't. My presence here doesn't confirm anything. And anyway, like I said, it's a long, drawn-out bullshit thing to give us a little bit more information, but at the end of the day, like I said, it's one of those, like, stupid character moves that you're just like, why didn't you just shoot this guy in the face when you had a chance, you know? But we all know everything's got to play out, you know, and even though it's like, you know, kind of how things are going to end and play out because it's in a flashback, you always hope that something happens differently. Anybody ever watch that movie that they liked, whether it was an action movie, an adventure movie, whatever, and you wish that the person made that different decision, not the bad one that got them in trouble and got, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You always think that, you always hope it'd be different, you know? So that's kind of what it was with this. I was hoping that she would just, why didn't you just shoot him? Don't wing him and then talk to him about it. Anyway, he has his couple of guys that are with him, you know, jump her or whatever and attack her, and it looks like she gets overwhelmed. And then we wind up going, and we find out, of course, from Spandine as well, that when they came there, this is really just a formality. What they're doing is they're pretty much rustling up everybody who is obviously a scholar. Anybody who is not, they're giving chance to leave on this evacuation boat to get out of there. And it's pretty much just like he's like I said, just a formality for him to kind of go through the motions before they go and basically mercilessly execute all these scholars, these archaeologists of Ohara. And I don't get and I'm hoping that it's explained better as we go on, but I don't get why it's so important to cover up this 100-year history in the Poneglyphs. I understand that it links to the ancient weapons and everything else, because then later on, when they are rounding up all the scholars, he makes some mention of that bullshit about how, no, they're studying it so they can gather information on this weapon to wipe out multitudes of people. And at that point, Robin's like calling bullshit on stuff, you know. But my whole point is that really you're gonna kill hordes of people to go and try to cover up what the fuck kind of conspiracy do you guys got going on that just 100 years of history is just missing from the history books, you know, and that it's so illegal to even think about it or study it that if you even have a thought cross your mind of a poneglyph, some world government agent shows up and slits your throat in the night. It's absolutely ridiculous. So hopefully some of that comes to light and we find out, and it's not one of those things where Oda just keeps us hanging, 700-800 chapters in it. We still have no idea why. Those are the things that to me can be a little frustrating, because you can certainly have big overarching plot mysteries and things like that, but you really gotta give people a little bit of a nugget here and there. You gotta give them a little bit, come on man, throw me a bone, and I've been waiting now for almost 400 chapters to throw me a bone. The last time we've even heard about anything with the Poneglyphs is I think chapter 301, if I remember correctly, when we found out from Skypiea that obviously Goldie Roger had been there and everything else, and we still didn't really find out much about the Poneglyphs themselves or anything with this void history, this void century, so certainly eager to find that out. But anyway, so they wind up rounding up everybody, all the scholars and everything like that. They're going and kicking everybody off the island in this, this boat, saying, hey, listen, if you're not connected to them, bring your identification, get to the west coast, and we're going to take you out in an evacuation boat. Some people think it's extreme. World government doesn't care. They just do what the fuck they want. And that's the thing that pisses me off about them. I don't care if technically the government's supposed to be the good guys and the pirates and everybody else is supposed to be the bad guys, but it sure doesn't look like it in situations like this. This certainly looks like something like, it sounds kind of like oppression, Kind of sounds like the government, and there's many of them that are still in existence around the world, kind of trying to make people do what they want for their own personal gain, because it's important to them. And they don't care who they kill in the process, but, whatever. So, anyways, we wind up seeing, as everybody's rounded up there and whatnot, and Robin doesn't want to leave. She doesn't want to go on the evacuation boat. They're like, you got to get out of here. She's like, no, I won't like anybody on the boat. I like you people. I'm going to stay here. And I think she just doesn't get it, They flash at one point to Saul, and he goes and sees all the warships that are, now within range. You can see them right off the coast, 6 or 8 warships, a bunch of them. And as they go back to everybody, then Spandine winds up showing up to give his little monologue speech, and then they go and has his guys go and toss obviously Robin's mother, Olvia, down. Now Robin still doesn't know that that's her, and as she goes and looks up, obviously there's a striking resemblance, the line on the nose, the hair, the look, everything, but the 8-year-old, it didn't seem like she picked it out. However, Olvia did recognize Robin and went and said, and she kind of smiled and was like, "Oh my God, she did grow up. I haven't seen her since she was 2. Now she's 8. She is this beautiful little girl and blah blah blah. So it was a very touching moment in that sense. But I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be very frustrating, because Robin's going to go and either see her mother die or find out about it afterwards and find out that she was that close to being able to, just like in Game of Thrones, the Starks have been pulled apart from each other, and they're just always so close. I almost got here to meet up with this brother, and then they were killed. I almost got here to meet up with, and then they were killed, or something happened, And it's, I just hope it's not that type of situation, but I have a feeling that's how it's going to play out. So, but anyway, what winds up happening is at the end of it, Clover goes and winds up saying, because they go and they start burning the library, they do find the hidden passage that they had, some kind of boulder that went to it. Was revealed behind it to have this hidden passage, and they believe there's a poneglyph and all this other stuff, so they've got the proof that they need now. And Clover says, listen, you know what, do with us what you want, but please let us go at least talk to the 5 elders first, and let us at least share what our hypothesis is on the Void Century, on what's happened. Because maybe, it truly is one of those situations where it's just been handed down by law through the government for generations, and what started out as just some kind of big cover-up eventually was like, hey, listen, if you do go and study things about this, you're going to find out some things about, like, world-ending type stuff, with these great weapons and everything else, these great ancient weapons. So maybe it is one of those, like, we're doing the wrong things, but we think we're doing it for the right reason. I'm not really willing to give the government a benefit of the doubt, because I just know from personal experience here and with our government that everything's corrupt from top to bottom, and nothing is ever really done in the interest of the people, So certainly know that this is something to protect their ass at the end of the day. But that's how the chapter ends off, with Clover going and saying, hey, listen, please just let us go and talk to, let us go and speak with the 5 elders and share what information we have. So that's where the chapter leaves off. And really, my chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is, what are your thoughts on Olvia and choosing to just wing Spandine and then go and give him this monologue and talk to him about things? Do you think that she should have done that, or do you think that she should have just mercilessly shot him in the heart or the head or wherever, it's something that in some of these different things, whether it's a manga, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a movie, it doesn't matter what medium it's in of entertainment, even a video game, sometimes you're just like, God, you just need to take that person out. Now, if she'd been captured and tortured and everything else and escaped from the prison, she knows that they mean business and that they're not going to show her any mercy. And I know that she's an archaeologist and not a hardened, trained assassin killer, but you got a gun, be ready to use it, is my whole point to, I guess, this. What are your thoughts on her unwillingness to actually use the gun to go and kill Spandine? Maybe it would have solved the problem. Maybe it would have temporarily solved the problem. They didn't have anybody to direct them. They find out Spandine's dead. Maybe they go and back off and regroup. I don't know. Maybe they just go and then get, they call it in to Aokiji, and he says, we'll do the Buster call and just annihilate the whole island. I don't know. And we'll never know, because she didn't actually shoot him. She went and stopped and talked to him and went and gave a whole, speech. What are your thoughts on that, though? Did she do the right thing, or should she have handled it differently? Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Subscribe to my other channels and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram too.